Shalom, ladies, and welcome back. We are doing verse 16 of Proverbs 31, and much like I'm sure you enjoying this study, verse by verse study as well. This week's study goes a little bit more in depth into understanding what a garden is and how a husband's role is within our relationship, because up until now we've seen what our role is, and this passage just shows you the parallel between working with your husband and you, and if you don't have a husband, with Abba Father, and ultimately we are supposed to be working with Abba Father. So let's just jump into it, right? So verse 16, it says, Proverbs 31:16 says, she considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. So consider is to plan. It's to imagine it, to plot it out, to purpose. It's to devise, everything, the positives and the negatives, and it's doing that pros and cons of anything and budgeting properly. It's really putting thought into something. It's not just making a spur of the moment decision and doing it. It's really taking effort and working and planning it. Field is to spread out. It is like a country, a ground, land, soil. So it's just a large piece of land. That's basically what it is. Something that's widely spread out. To buy is a locha, which is to take. The interesting thing is, we'll see the most mentioned, the way it's translated the most, is usually what the main meaning of it is. So we see that buy is only used 3 times here. The other times it's to take it. Okay, so let's just go and have a look with this. It says this word is used to take in many passages, in the sense where it is going to be life or death, or represents life or death. So if we're going to have a look at an example where this specific word is used, it's used when Abba Father took man and put him in the garden, Genesis 2:15. When he took man's rib and made a woman. When he took the fruit and ate, when Adam and Eve took the fruit and ate thereof, take to be a wife. So you see, everything is to be good or bad. With the wife, you're going to reproduce. It gives life. When they took the fruit, it took death. It brought death onto us. Took clean beasts. This is also passages that you're going to go and have a look at. So that is to give us life. It's to cancel out the death penalty that was put on us. That is what that clean beast, and it was to make us right with Father. So you see how this is to bring life or death. So a field is a raw potential. The seed is the idea. A seed will not reach its fruitfulness unless it is planted. And after it is planted, it needs to die to release Jehovah's given potential and fruit. Fruitfulness depends upon careful tending and faithfulness. You can't just plant a seed and think it's going to sprout up. Planting a seed is going to take time. It's going to take faith. It definitely takes faith. We don't see what's going on beneath the ground. You plant it in complete faith that seed is going to grow with what you are putting back into it, watering it, making sure it's getting sunshine, making sure you're pulling out all the weeds that could be suffocating it. That is what our relationships are with people around us, our relationship with Abba Father. It's planting that seed. It is a faith thing. So I want to read to you out of the Woman of Valor, or Valor, A Messianic Journey Through Proverbs 31 by Robin L. Luton. If you need to know where to find it, you can buy it on Amazon. If you can't find the link, please just let me know and I can send it to you. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the page. Page 61. So page 61 reads, she considers or envisions. The idea that a woman of valor envisions is significant. She sets her mind on accomplishing a specific goal. She thinks very carefully about the task before her. realizing she is initiating a decisive course of action. Her conduct is the antithesis of carelessly ambling through life. The word zamam, or considers, describes a determination. Valor does not carelessly react to whatever is happening. The actualization occurs only after sacrifice and work. The seminal inspiration is the spark of Chochmah, which is the Hebrew word for wisdom. So you see, to prepare a field for the seed takes a lot of hard work. You've got to take out the stones and loosen up the ground, make sure that the pH is right. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Reading on page 62 for those who are following. Bringing a thing or person to potential may be the greatest feminine attribute. The woman of valor's ability to envision and to act is both powerful and beautiful. She provides the time and space for something or someone to mature. She nurtures what needs to be nurtured and recognizes when it is time to let go. This pattern of nurturing, waiting, then allowing separation is how we give birth. And the letting go can be the most difficult part and the most painful. This holds especially true when releasing an adult child emotionally. It can be even more painful than physical birth, as the process is more of an internal one. If we cling too tightly for too long, we smother maturation and independence. We need courage and wisdom to release what we have birthed and loved so intensely. I discovered, this is now Robin talking, I discovered a delicious secret about the phrase, with the fruit of her hand she plants a vineyard. The Hebrew verb used here is masculine. He plants the vineyard, not her. Let's read it again with the proper pronoun as written in the original text. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, he plants the vineyard. In the original language of Hebrew, there is also an inferred he as the purchaser. So she considers a field and he buys it. So you see how the husband and wife should be working together. She does the planning, she comes to her husband, and he purchases it for her. With the fruit of her hands, he plants the vineyard. She envisions and plans, and he purchases. This is the divine partnership Jehovah invites us to share with him, our divine husband. Why the effort to envision and plan if he is the purchaser? If he will plant it ultimately, why is the woman of valor, or the bride, required to be involved at all? Because the divine process is the whole point. Our growth is dependent on the effort we make to overcome resistance. We are encouraged to tap into wisdom and allow Jehovah to give us a picture of what he has in mind for our lives. We are invited to partner with him in making the ascent in our own spiritual growth, and a fruitful life, pictured as a vineyard, is the result. So if we look further on in this passage, it says, with the fruit of her hand she plants a vineyard. What does that mean? So that fruit is peri, which is literally and figuratively a bow, or first fruit, or fruitfulness, or a reward. So this is the reward of your hard work. To plant is nata, which is to strike in. Now we know to plant something, you need to use a spade or a pick to break the ground and to plant that seed. But yet specifically to plant, literally or physically, and to fasten the plant onto a planter. So this is like for your vineyards or your tomato plants or things like that. So here's just a very nice quote that I found by Akiva Tadz, which is Will, Freedom and Victory, page 39. If there is a very little effort in achieving a victory, there will be very little growth in the process. If no effort is expanded and no resistance overcome, there can be no personal growth. The muscle of the human mind and will grows in proportion to the resistance it must overcome. An effortless victory is not a growth exercise. So you see how in life we have to go through difficult things. That is what makes us grow. That is what makes the seed in us grow. That is what makes things around us flourish and grow. We need to go through trials. We need to go through the difficulties of life, because Father shows us his character. He shows us who he is for us if we draw to him, if we come to him in our need and not in our need. Like we've seen in the previous passages, we need to be preparing ourselves for the difficult times that we can stand strong. So don't be disheartened if you are going through difficult times. Don't be disheartened if you feel like you are a single parent. Don't be disheartened if you are feeling that you have lost your children or that your marriage is on the rocks. Turn to Abba Father and see this as a growth thing, as Father helping you grow to maturity. And that's what the bride of Messiah is. It is the woman of valor. You can only become the woman of valor, which is the bride of Messiah, through trials and tribulations, through going through hardships. That is where you're going to get your growth. If we use wisdom and walk with integrity and bring life to those in our lives, spiritually, physically, and emotionally, then Abba Father will establish it with fruitfulness. So I'm going to read to you again on page 64 to 65. Now, ladies, this I think is going to speak to a lot of you ladies, because you're all going through different things. And the way Robin has written this is just so beautiful, because I could relate to it. And reading it again with this preparation, I just related to it again so deeply. So please listen very carefully if you don't have the book. If you do have the book, please go back and read this, highlight it. I mean, my books are always so full of writing, and because these are things that you can go back to and learn from and draw from when you're heading into difficult times again. And this is what she has written here is such a good example of what it is to be using wisdom, knowing when to let go. So on page 64, she says, years ago, I was in a place of great anxiety. I was desperately trying to solve situations that was not mine to control. I read the words in Psalm 46 verse 10, "Be still and know that I am God." I discovered it can be translated, "Relax your grip and know that I am God." The phrase "be still" comes from the word "rapha," which means to relax or slacken. I began to picture Jochebed as she prepared the basket, placed her very heart into it, and let it go. She realized she could not hold onto her son to save him. She knew Jehovah had the basket well in hand, and therefore her son was safe. She knew the future was already written by the loving Father. This powerful insight prompted me to do the same. I was able to release a son I loved, and to realize that he would never wander outside God's ability to rescue him. As a result of letting go, I found peace, and my son was rescued. Ladies, please listen to this, because we as women, those of you who have got younger children, I would suggest that even though your kids are easy, don't go through the difficult teenage years, don't go through the terrible twos, you thank Father for blessing you with a child who's got a heart to serve him. Don't think that you are scot-free from praying for that child. I made that mistake. I thought that, wow, Father blessed me with a child who hungers and yearns for him. And the enemy came in and has gotten hold of him. And I'm praying now, and unfortunately, I slacked on not praying for him. because I thought, that it was okay. I focused on things that were more of an issue. That is that preparing. You see, waking up early and fighting, getting your strength, fighting the fight before there is an issue. I wish I knew then what I know now. Pray for your children and your husband, and for your marriage, for your health, all of those things now while everything is okay, before it's too late. Don't wait for the enemy to first attack. You don't leave your doors open and then want to lock your doors once the enemy's already, or the criminals have already come in and stolen the things in your house. You prepare by locking your doors, by making sure there's security in place, by making sure that you aren't leaving windows and things open when you go on a holiday, so that you can protect your belongings. That's exactly the same. You protect your belongings that Father's given you, your children, your husband, your marriage, your relationships, by praying for them. That is closing the door, locking it, making sure that you're doing your due diligence. Let's continue reading. This powerful insight prompted me to do the same. I was able to release a son I loved, and to realize that he would never wander outside God's ability to rescue him. As a result of letting go, I found peace, and my son was rescued. Perhaps you have a grown child, a parent, a spouse, or a situation you have fixated upon, and you are consumed with frustration in your inability to change or redirect things. If this is the case, then we have a basket, an empty space that is free of your own anxiety and compulsion to control circumstances. Give Yehovah room to work without your interference, and trust Him to fill with His presence. The space you have been occupying I'll read that again. Give God room to work without your interference, and trust Him to fill with His presence the space you have been occupying. In other words, loosen your grip. Get yourself out of the way. You must exercise courage and place the one you desperately want to rescue, but you know you can't, into this vessel. But then comes the hard part. You must place the basket in the river and remove your hands. It is no longer under your control, but then it never really was. The only thing that was ever under your control was your choice to trust Yehovah. Jochebed's act of trust resulted in the rescue of a nation of Israel. What amazing fruit from such a small and faithful act. I suspect that she must have had a spark of insight that there could be a future for the baby boy she had relinquished. Could she have possibly envisioned how deep and wide and fruitful the vineyard would eventually be? Each time we read the Torah, we are feeding from the vineyard Jochebed planted that day. She envisioned, and God assisted her in planting. What was the purchase price for her? Certainly, in part, it cost her personal discomfort. But she overcame and acted fearlessly. She is an inspiration. Each Friday evening, at the onset of Sabbath, we bless Yehovah for His provision. We raise our wine glasses and recite the following blessing, thanking Him for providing the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu, melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. He allows us to participate by living in a kingdom life here and now, in partnership with a faithful husband who oversees the vineyard with great care. I hope that spoke to you, ladies, because it is so difficult as a mum to sometimes let go. It is so difficult to see our children going astray. We all went there. We left school and things were difficult. I remember leaving school and it was hard, and I think it was my year 12. Yes, I tried, I partied, but I never drank crazy. I never went off the rails because I had such a strong relationship with Father. But I did try. I did try drinking. I did try having a smoke, but it wasn't for me. That wasn't my heart. I think it's because I had knew Father from such a young age. But it was something I had to try. And unfortunately, some of our children don't have that personal relationship with Father. They've grown up in knowing the faith, knowing Torah. And that is a key thing that I have learned recently, is your children need to get to know Father on that personal basis. They've got to hear Father's voice so that it becomes personal, that it's not just head knowledge, but it becomes a heart thing. Then they will make wise decisions. Then they won't go astray for too long. And if your children are already grown and you're only now hearing this, just keep praying and let it go. Don't nag your children. Don't, just trust Father. Because Father entrusted you with them. Now you've got to give them back to Abba Father. So let's go to the conclusion of what we've learned so far. So verse 16, a woman of valor has a vision and a goal and acts on the vision to achieve the goal. She considers all aspects of a situation before making a decision. And what I did leave out here is that you seek counsel from Abba Father. A woman of valor has wisdom, Chochmah in Hebrew, and you can go and look up in Psalm 111 and Proverbs 1 what that Chochmah is. A woman of valor is willing to sacrifice and work to bring the vision into fruition. And that work is not always physical. Many times, and I think actually every day, it is spiritual. We are supposed to be spiritually fighting for our families, doing that spiritual warfare, doing that work like we saw in verse 15. It's that standing up early and preparing. A woman of valor is able to overcome resistance as her focus is on the end goal. A woman of valor trusts Jehovah when her vision looks impossible to achieve. A woman of valor trusts Jehovah when resistance and trials hinder her from getting to the end goal. So here are a few questions I want you to ponder on. And remember to write it in your prayer diary and really ponder on this. Ask Father if there's anywhere in your life that you are lacking. Do you have a vision and a goal in your life? Or are you just living for the day that you die and go to heaven? Which is what churches have really banged us with. It's like, give your life to Jesus and you'll be saved. It's like that thing for one day when you die and, then you're going to go to heaven. We are living in the kingdom now. And we're supposed to be living as ambassadors for Father in the kingdom now. Do you seek Father to show you where you need to grow spiritually? This is something that you can do daily. Say, Father, where am I falling short? What is between me and you? Father, how does my garment look before you? Are you raising your children to be good adults, or are you just focusing on the here and now? Many people like focusing on raising good children. That is not what we are meant to be doing. You are supposed to be raising your children to be good adults. That means helping them to think independently. That means helping them to get to know Abba Father as a heart matter, not as a head matter. Are you holding on too tight and trying to control your husband and or children to protect and to save them? And many times we do this in the name of love to protect and in the name of to save them. And yes, I look back and I go, maybe I was holding the reins too tight and I could have let go a little bit more or a little bit sooner. And it is a difficult one, and I think it's something that we need to do. Parenting needs to be done with Abba Father. And I always said, I wish a manual came out with my son. Even though I had a very good son. I mean, he didn't hit terrible twos. He didn't have terrible teenage years. But still, it's like, how do you raise them without breaking them? Without breaking their spirit? And the only way you can do that is asking Father, what does he say about them? And what does he call them? And you as a mother, call that out in your children. And help raise your children to know how to hear Father, to walk in their purpose. This last question. Control is manipulation. Manipulation is witchcraft. What in your life do you need to give to Abba? And we need to learn how to let go and give the control back to Father. So what are you holding on to that you should be releasing back to Father? And here's just a nice little passage. You can plant the seed, but only Jehovah can make it grow. Don't give yourself power that you should not be having, or that you should not even own, because you are adding to anxiety and you're adding stress that you should not be carrying. There's a lot that we as women want to take control of that belongs to Abba Father, and even to your husband. I think many times we as women take control because we feel our husbands fall short, and we're taking away from them what Father wants to teach them and how Father wants to help them grow. So ask Father where you need to let go of the reins. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week to do verse 17. And please send through any questions, any revelations you've gotten. And that's my dog. Thank you, ladies. Shalom.